Good morning, student. I am Purnima and I welcome you to the class. And today I am going to teach you the lesson, The Summit Within. A very beautiful lesson that how Major Ahluwalia, he and his team has conquered Mount Everest. Beautiful. Okay. So, and this is a true story. It's a description of uh, HPS Ahluwalia's journeys to Mount Everest. So, and it is written, the narrator is HPS Ahluwalia. Now, HPS Ahluwalia, he was a major. He was a major, okay. And Major Ahluwalia was a member of the first team conquering Mount Everest. So he was a member of the first team conquering Mount Everest in 1965. In this extract, he tells about his feeling standing on the highest peak of the world. So children, in this lesson, he had described about his feeling, that how he stood on the highest peak of the world. His first feeling was of humility. He thanked God because of the expedition had ended successfully. He was both happy and sad. And children, he also thanked God when he put his first step there. He thanked God because the expedition had ended in a very successful manner. He was both happy and sad. He felt aggrieved because he had reached the summit, and after that there would be nothing higher to climb. Now children, he was of a positive nature. He told that he had reached the summit, and after that there would be nothing higher to climb. Climbing Mount Everest gives a deep sense of joy which lasts for a lifetime. The experiences changes one completely. It was a conquest of a high mountain, but the writer felt that climbing or getting over the summit of the mind was no less difficult. So, children, the writer felt that climbing or getting over the summit of the mind was no less difficult. Okay. While climbing down from the top, he asked himself, and then when he was climbing down from the top, he asked himself why he had chosen to climb. This achievement became a thing of the past now. It would fade with the passing of time. He questioned himself as to why people wish to climb high mountains. The simplest answer is that it is a difficult task, and man feels great in overcoming difficulties. Climbing a mountain is a tough task because it tests one's physical strength and willpower. The writer then proceeds to answer the personal question. Mountain had an attraction for him since his childhood. He missed them while he was away from them. Their beauty and grandeur presented a challenge. And above all, mountains are a way to feel close to God. But why Everest? This was the question. There are so many mountains. Kanchenjunga is there. Okay, so many mountains are there. So, but why Everest? He chose it because it was the highest and the most challenging task. It was a hard struggle with rocks and ice. When he stood on the summit, he felt the joy of having done something great, of achieving great victory. The call of Everest drew him to it. It is difficult to tell the reason for climbing. It is like answering why one breathes or why you do good acts. So children, when he was internally, when he was questioning himself that why he had chosen mountaineering, though it is a difficult task, so even he felt it difficult to answer that while it is something like that. If somebody will ask us why one breathes, it is so difficult to answer. Or why do you do good acts? The success is followed by a sense of fulfillment or satisfaction. It is a proof of man's love for adventure. The experience is not just physical but spiritual. You make all your effort to get up. Breathing is difficult. There are moments when you feel like going back. But something in you checks you from giving up. When you reach the top, you tell yourself that it was a rewarding effect. Below you are vast valleys. You bow down to God for your worship. The writer left a picture of Guru Nanak and his companion Rawat left a picture of Goddess Durga on Everest. Fu Dorji left a relic of the Buddha. Edmund Hillary buried a cross under the rock in the snow. These are symbols of respect to God. And these people are spiritual. They are having so much faith in God. In a manner, they have thanked God. There is another summit to climb. It is within yourself, your own mind. The most difficult task is to know oneself. One has to do it alone and himself. The writer experience as an Everest inspired him to face life boldly. So, this is that, children. The summit within. Nice lesson that how a major HPS Ahluwalia, he climbed the world highest peak, Mount Everest, and he had shared his feelings. So many questions came to his mind, that why he had chosen Himalayas, Mount Everest, why he felt like climbing there, why not on other children's summits. Okay, so many questions. And why do man climb? And he had answered everything in a very nice manner, in a very honest manner. This lesson is a wonderful description of his journey. So now, children, I am going to explain the lesson. So students, now I'm going to explain you the lesson, the summit within. Major HPS Ahluwalia was a member of the first successful Indian expedition to Mount Everest in 1965. How did he feel when he stood on the highest point in the world? Let us hear his story in his own words. Climbing the summit, and then the more difficult task of climbing the summit within. So children, he had told two things about climbing the summits and the more difficult task of climbing the summit within. There are two summits he has to climb. One, he has to climb the summit within. If you want to be strong, you have to climb the summit of your mind and soul. So let's start. Of all the emotions which surged through me as I stood on the summit of Everest, looking over miles of panorama below us. So children, two new words we have read here. One is surge and other is panorama. So surge means arose suddenly and intensely. Okay. And panorama is a view of a wide area. Of all the emotion which surged through me as I stood on the summit of Everest, looking over, of all the emotion which surge means which arrived suddenly through me as I stood on the summit of Everest. Okay, so first of all, children, what is the meaning of summit? Okay, the summit within. Summit means top. Summit is top, the highest point. Okay. Expedition is trip. New word, search arose suddenly and intensely. Panorama, a view of wide area. Summit is top, expedition is trip. Okay, so here uh, of all the emotion which surged through me as I stood on the summit of Everest, looking over miles of panorama below us, the dominant one, I think, were humility. Okay, so the dominant is main and humility is humbleness. Humility is humbleness. So, of all the emotion which surged through me as I stood on the summit of Everest, looking over miles of panorama below us, the dominant one I think was humility. The physical in me seemed to say, "Thank God, it's all over." Now, children, he felt inside somebody is his own conscience is telling him, "Thank God, it's all over." That means he has won the summit. However, instead of being jubilant is very happy because of success. So, jubilant, okay, it is jubilant. Okay, so what is the meaning of jubilant? Very happy because of success. So she is telling that he is telling that he was the physical in me seemed to say, "Thank God it's all over." However, instead of being jubilant, there was a tinge of sadness. Tinge means shade. So definitely he was very happy. He felt that he is the most successful person, but then he felt that at the same time he felt the tinge of sadness. Tinge means shade of sadness. Why he felt it? Was it because I had already done the ultimate in climbing? So children, his main motto was the to conquer Mount Everest, and that he had done. So he is asking himself, was it because I had already done the ultimate in climbing? Ultimate means final. Here, ultimate means final. That means he has done the final thing, he has done the last thing, and now he is sad that now what he had to do, that is finished. He has already climbed the highest summit of the world. Is climbing, and there would be nothing higher to climb, and all road hereafter would lead down. And he is telling now he will not have anything to climb higher. All the roads now, all the roads hereafter would lead down. So he is telling now there will be nothing to climb. By climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy. Now, by climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It is a joy which lasts a lifetime. By climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It is a joy which lasts a lifetime. The experience changed you completely. The man who has been to the mountains is never the same again. The climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy. So here overwhelmed is filled with excitement. Overwhelmed is filled with excitement. So, and formidable is challenging. So, there would be nothing hard to climb, and all rods hereafter would had no. So, he is telling that by climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. So, children, here overwhelmed is filled with excitement. So when he climbed the summit, he really felt a deep sense of joy. He was really thankful to God for this. He was thankful to God for this. The man who has been to the mountain is never the same again. And children, that joy is which lasts a lifetime, and that joy will be forever for him for the lifetime. So now children, the next paragraph. By climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It is a joy which lasts a lifetime. The experiences change you completely. The man who has been to the mountains is never the same again. As I look back at life after climbing Everest, I cannot help remarking about the other summit, the summit of the mind. Now, children, he is telling the children, he has now discussed about the mountains, and now he is telling that now he want to talk about another summit which he was successful in climbing, and that is the summit of the mind. No less formidable. Formidable means challenging or difficult. Formidable, challenging, or difficult. So, overwhelmed means filled with excitement, formidable means challenging or difficult. Now, he is talking about the challenging of the mind. He is talking about the challenging of the climbing of the mind. So, children, he is thinking that if we will climb the summit of the mind, it is also very difficult and no easier to climb. It is very difficult to conquer your mind. He want to tell children it is very difficult to conquer your mind. Even when getting down from the summit, once the physical exhaustion had gone, I began asking myself the question why I had climbed Everest. Now, exhaustion means very tired, exhausted. So he is telling that after climbing the summit, when you will come down, it is very exhausting and physical exhaustion, and for a long period of time people are exhausted. I begin asking myself the question why I had climbed Everest. Even when Major H.P.H. earlier he came down from the Everest, he after some time till when he climbed the Everest, after some time, why did the act of reaching the summit have such a hold on my imagination? So he began asking himself few questions that why he had climbed Everest and why did the act of reaching the summit have such a hold on my imagination. It was already a thing of the past, something done yesterday. With every passing day, it would become more remote. And then what would remain? Would my memories fade slowly away? Now children, he is asking so many questions. Major HPH Ahluwalia. He is asking so many questions like why he had climbing the summit. Okay, and now since he had climbing, that thing will remain his past. Something which he had done yesterday. With every passing day, it would become remote, and then what would remain? Would my memories fade slowly away? All this thought led me to question myself as to why people climb mountains. Why it's so, after taking so many pain and after climbing down, the memories fade, we feel remote. Okay, so why he is telling why people then climb mountains. It is not easy to answer the question. The simplest answer would be, as others have said, because it is there. Now, it is there and it is your wish to climb. It presents great difficulties. Man takes delight in overcoming obstacles. So he is telling man he takes pain to overcome obstacles, difficulties. Now, man takes delight in overcoming obstacles. Okay, the obstacle in climb a mountain are physical. A climb to a summit means endurance. Okay, a climb to a summit means endurance, and endurance means strength to bear. Endurance. Endurance means strength to bear. Okay, endurance means is strength to bear. Okay, so now children, when getting down from the summit, okay, um, I begin asking myself question: why I had climbed Everest, and why did the act of reaching the summit have such a hold on my imagination? So when he was climbing down, he asked so many questions that why he had climbed the summit and why he had such a hold on my imagination. It was already a thing of the past, something done yesterday. With every passing day, it would become more remote, and then what would remain would my memories fade slowly and slowly away. So children, he is telling that one day it would become the thing of the past and it would be removed from my mind, and one day that memory will be fade, and then with every passing day, one day it will fade and go away. All this thought led me to question myself as to why people climb mountains. It is not easy to answer the question. Now children, he had asked a question about himself, that why people had climbed mountains. So this was not an easy question. Okay, so this was not an easy question. Now I have a more personal answer to the question. From my childhood, I have been attracted by mountains. I had been miserable, lost when away from mountains. Now children, he is telling something about his past life, about his childhood, that generally he used to stay near mountains only, but whenever he was away from the mountains, okay, so he used to feel miserable, he used to feel lost when away from mountains. In the plain, mountains are nature at its best. So mountains are nature at its best. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge, and like many, I believe that mountains are a means of communication with God. And children, he also feel like many people that mountains are a means of communication with God. Once having granted this, the question remains, why Everest? Because it is the highest, the mightiest, and has defied many previous attempts. Okay, defied is resisted. So what is the meaning of defied? Resisted. Okay. Okay. So once having granted this, the question remains, why average? Because it is the highest, the mightiest, and has defied many previous attempts. It takes the last ounce of one energy. It is brutal struggle with rocks and ice. Once taken up, it cannot be given away halfway, even when one's life is at stake. The passage back is as difficult as the passage onwards. And then when the summit is climbed, there is the acceleration. Okay, so this word is the mightiest is children, majesty is grandeur, communion, this demonstration is display, accelerating is exciting or thrilling. So the word meaning of exhilaration is excited or thrilled. Okay, exhaustion means very tired, obstacle means difficulties, endurance means strength to bear, defied means resistance, acceleration means is excited or thrilled. So these are the difficult word meaning of page number 77, the two last paragraphs. Okay, the joy of having done something, the sense of battle fought and won, there is a feeling of victory and happiness. Glimpsing a peak in the distance, I get transported to another world. Glimpsing a peak in the distance, I get transported to another world. Now children, when he was glimpsing, okay, glimpsing means watching. So I will write the word meaning. Glimpsing. Glimpsing means watching. Okay, glimpsing means watching. So glimpsing is a peak in the distance. I get transported when he was watching a peak from of a distance. I get transported to another world. He felt that he had been to some another world. I experienced a change within myself. He experienced a change within himself, which can only be called mystical. Okay, that change he felt was a mystical. What is the meaning of mystical? Spiritual. Okay, mystical. I am becoming mystical nowadays. I am becoming spiritual nowadays. So when he saw children from one peak, when he was standing on the highest peak, and when he was watching the other peak, children, suddenly the change he had faced within himself. Children, that change he can call it that he has become mystical. By its beauty, aloofness, might, ruggedness, and the difficulties encountered on the way, the peak draw needs to it as Everest did. So children, and children, why he had become like this? Because it was so beautiful. He cannot forget the beautiful Everest and its surrounding. Aloofness, everything was very quiet there, not a single noise. Might, he felt that the Everest are the mightiest. Ruggedness, children, the way of the mountains, the climbers were the track the place, the thing where passes which was not a good passages. They were full of ruggedness. That means it was not symmetrical, it was not the plane. Okay, so ups and downs he had seen while tracking, and the difficulties encountered on the way. Children, not only that, they had faced lot of difficulties on the way. The peak draws me to it as Everest did. And children, finally he went near the peak, and he was okay. It is challenge that it is difficult to resist. Looking back, I find that I have not yet fully explained why I climbed Everest. Now children, again he started thinking, and he told that still he did not got the answer that why he had climbed Everest. Now children, the rest of the things I will be telling you in my other video. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.